I stayed in Tokyo for work after studying abroad in Tokyo. My brother passed away the other day from ALS, Hawking's symptom. I don't know how you deal with a situation like this. What happens to you if a family member passes away and you are not in your country? I stayed in Tokyo for work after studying abroad here. I fell in love with the city's vibrant energy, the juxtaposition of traditional and modern, and the kindness of the people. Tokyo became my second home. However, my heart was always with my family back in the States. Just the other day, I received a call that shattered my world. My brother had passed away from ALS, often referred to as Lou Gehrig's disease. This devastating news left me reeling, and I found myself grappling with grief from thousands of miles away. How do you deal with a situation like this? What happens to you when a family member passes away and you are not in your country? Here's my story of navigating loss and finding strength from afar. Chapter 1: The Call. It was a typical morning in Tokyo. I was preparing for a work presentation, sipping my green tea and reviewing my notes. My phone rang, and I saw it was my mother. Her voice was filled with a sorrow I had never heard before. "John, your brother, he passed away last night," she said, her voice breaking. I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. I dropped my notes and sank into a chair. My mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, memories of my brother flooding in. He had been diagnosed with ALS 2 years ago, and we had watched him slowly lose his strength. Despite the distance, we stayed connected through video calls and messages. But now, he was gone. Chapter 2: The Immediate Aftermath. The first few hours after the call were a blur. I called my boss to inform her of the situation. She was incredibly supportive, offering me time off and any assistance I might need. The next step was booking a flight home. The urgency of wanting to be with my family was overwhelming. However, international travel isn't always straightforward. There were no immediate flights available, and the soonest I could leave was 2 days later. Those 2 days felt like an eternity. I struggled with the feeling of helplessness, unable to be with my family when they needed me most. Chapter 3: Support from Afar. During those 2 days, I leaned on my friends and colleagues in Tokyo. They rallied around me, offering their condolences and support. My close friend, Haruki, invited me to stay with him and his family. They created a small space for me to honor my brother, lighting incense and placing a photo of him on a makeshift altar. Their kindness provided a sense of comfort I desperately needed. I also reached out to my family through video calls. Although it was painful to see them grieving, it helped to share our sorrow and memories of my brother. My mother was struggling, but she appreciated my efforts to stay connected. My father, a man of few words, simply nodded and thanked me for calling. We found solace in knowing that, despite the physical distance, our bond remained strong. Chapter 4: The Journey Home. Finally, the day of my flight arrived. The journey back to the States was long and emotionally draining. I spent the flight reflecting on my brother's life, our shared experiences, and the lessons he had taught me. I remembered our childhood adventures, his infectious laugh, and his unwavering strength during his battle with ALS. When I arrived home, the reality of his absence hit me hard. The house felt emptier without his presence. My parents were glad to see me, and we embraced tightly, finding comfort in each other's arms. Despite the grief, there was a sense of relief in being together. Chapter 5: Navigating Grief. In the days that followed, we prepared for my brother's memorial service. It was a difficult but necessary step in our healing process. Friends and family gathered to pay their respects and share their memories of him. It was heartwarming to see how many lives he had touched. One of the most poignant moments was when his best friend, Mike, gave a eulogy. He spoke about my brother's courage and determination, even in the face of such a debilitating disease. His words brought both tears and smiles, reminding us of the strength my brother had shown throughout his life. Chapter 6: Returning to Tokyo. After spending a few weeks with my family, it was time to return to Tokyo. Leaving was bittersweet. I wanted to be there for my parents, but I also needed to return to my responsibilities in Japan. My family understood, and we promised to stay in close contact. Back in Tokyo, I found solace in the familiar routines of my daily life. My friends and colleagues continued to offer their support, and I immersed myself in work to keep my mind occupied. However, I also made sure to set aside time for reflection and self-care. I visited temples and shrines, finding peace in their tranquil surroundings. Chapter 7: Finding Meaning. As time passed, I began to find ways to honor my brother's memory. I started volunteering with a local organization that supports people with ALS and their families. It was a way for me to channel my grief into something positive and make a difference in the lives of others. I also decided to take up running, inspired by my brother's love for sports. Each run became a tribute to him, a way to keep his spirit alive. I even participated in a charity marathon to raise funds for ALS research, dedicating my efforts to his memory. Chapter 8, Staying Connected. Staying connected with my family was crucial. We scheduled regular video calls, sharing updates on our lives and reminiscing about my brother. These calls provided a sense of closeness, even though we were miles apart. My mother often shared stories about my brother's final days, expressing her gratitude for the support they had received from friends and family. It was comforting to know that, even in my absence, my brother had been surrounded by love. Chapter 9, Embracing the Future. The journey of grief is never straightforward, and there were moments of profound sadness. However, I also found strength in the lessons my brother had taught me. He had faced his illness with grace and resilience, and I aspired to live my life in a way that honored his memory. In Tokyo, I continued to build a life filled with purpose and meaning. I pursued my career with renewed determination, knowing that my brother would have wanted me to succeed. I also deepened my relationships with friends and colleagues, cherishing the connections that provided support and joy. Chapter 10, A New Perspective. Losing my brother gave me a new perspective on life. It reminded me of the fragility of our existence and the importance of cherishing every moment. I became more mindful of my actions and the impact they had on others, striving to live with kindness and compassion. I also made a conscious effort to prioritize my well-being. I practiced mindfulness and meditation, finding solace in the present moment. These practices helped me navigate the waves of grief and find peace within myself. Chapter 11, Honoring my brother. One of the most meaningful ways I found to honor my brother was by sharing his story. I wrote articles and blog posts about his journey with ALS, raising awareness about the disease and the importance of support and research. Sharing his story helped me process my grief and inspired others to contribute to the cause. I also organized an annual memorial event in Tokyo, bringing together friends and colleagues to celebrate my brother's life. We shared stories, lit candles, and raised funds for ALS research. It became a cherished tradition, a way to keep his memory alive and make a positive impact. Chapter 12, Continuing the Journey. As I continued my journey, I realized that grief is not something you overcome but something you learn to live with. It becomes a part of you, shaping your experiences and perspectives. My brother's memory remained a constant presence, guiding me through the challenges and joys of life. In the years that followed, I found happiness in new ways. I traveled to new places, met incredible people, and embraced new opportunities. Through it all, my brother's spirit remained with me, a source of strength and inspiration. Chapter 13, A Message of Hope. To anyone who finds themselves in a similar situation, my message is this: you are not alone. Grief is a journey, and it's okay to feel lost and overwhelmed. Lean on your loved ones, seek support, and take it one day at a time. Find ways to honor your loved one's memory and carry their spirit with you. Life has a way of surprising us with its resilience and beauty. Even in the darkest moments, there is hope. There is love. There is strength. My brother's passing taught me that, and it is a lesson I carry with me every day. Chapter 14, Looking Ahead. As I look ahead, I know that my brother's memory will continue to shape my life. His courage, strength, and love will always be a part of me. I am grateful for the time we had together and the lessons he taught me. Tokyo remains my home, a place where I have found purpose and belonging. I continue to build a life filled with meaning, guided by the values my brother instilled in me. And I know that, no matter where life takes me, his spirit will always be with me. Thank you for reading my story, viewers. Your support and understanding mean the world to me. Let's continue to support each other, cherish the moments we have with our loved ones, and find strength in the face of adversity.